Yo, high value basketball. We are back once again with the best basketball commentary this side of the planet. You dig? Yo, let's talk about Ben Simmons for a minute, man. I gotta give it to old buddy. A little bit. If y'all haven't noticed, as I'm sure everybody has, I've seen the numbers on the YouTubes. It's damn near at fucking 600,000 views already. Wow! Shout out to the views of the NBA. But Ben Simmons, he was on JJ Reddick's show, JJ Reddick's podcast, and he actually faced the media, or at least for what it's worth, the new media. He faced the new media, and old buddy had a somewhat, or at least as open as it could be, politically correct style, a conversation about everything from his Philadelphia tenure. And I mean, they covered all of the highlights and lowlights, and he talked about it in a way for at least in a way to where he at least addressed the topic and didn't run away from it. And I gotta say, for him to be able to show up like that and at least touch upon these things, I gotta give the man a little bit more credit, because I mean, for the past couple years, and of course especially this this past off season, especially early on in the off season, man, he was getting just zagged, man. Old buddy was getting drugged through the mud, and not to say rightfully so, but you know how it is, man. Like, we're sports fans, sports commentary, a lot of stuff is jokes, nobody really means any actual harm to the guy, but of course, people can lay on super hyper thick, especially in the Twitter era that we're in. Everybody's got Twitter thumbs and they're Twitter gangsters, so they just say all kind of outlandish craziness, but even still with all of that, people laid on thick with the guy, and it really did affect him. And they did talk about that, the whole mental illness thing. As it stands, if like I say, he's not capping, I'm not gonna say he is. I'm gonna give him some credit here that everything that was laid on him did actually mess with the man's head. And so give him some credit for even being honest about that, and as he said, getting some help and just talking about it, and working himself out and getting back into a confident space, and all of those wonderful things. So we just gonna chop it up real quick, break down some of the major things that they talk about, all the stuff that everybody of course wants to hear from him about. So for one, the larger thing, he just talked about his tenure with the 76ers, and he did say, this was him being politically correct. I say I don't believe him, but of course he said, he loved his tenure there. He loved his stay there for the most part. He said he loved the people, and all of that. And he said he really did want to win. And he felt like they did, have multiple chances to actually compete, at the highest level. And he was proud to be a part of all of that. And as well, he did talk about the criticism, especially with his shot, because this is where I felt like it was like, maybe I guess I hear you, maybe I don't, but hey, at least you're talking about it. He feels in his mind, and in his efforts, that he's gotten better over the years, and that he's putting in, work, to better his game, and he heavily leans on his defensive impact, basically him going out there and defending the best player every night, and how tiring and extenuating that is. And I will give him some credit for that, because I mean, I don't know if y'all have ever played basketball, if you ever play organized basketball, like giving all-star level defense, or like I say, first team, all level defense, night in and night out, it does require a lot of focus, a lot of mental focus. It does require a lot of extra effort. Like, you do have to dig in. You do have to really be present, hyper present, and aware of yourself and how much effort you're giving. And like I say, be completely committed to you going for it every time on them defensive plays, and because it's really about those inches and being that presence and being, always right there when the ball is, in motion and stuff like that, because it eventually wears on the players and things like that. You eventually, get that big steal, get that big block, get that big stop, because the whole game you just been wearing them down. And so I will give him that for the defensive efforts. But yeah, he basically, was saying that too. A part of the reason why he plays the way that he plays is due to his Australian upbringing. And I gotta say, personally, for me, I gotta back off on one thing, because I always said this critique that the dude really wasn't a basketball player, because I just felt like he's an athlete, and he just used his athleticism for profit, basically. But again, I'm not gonna say he's capping, but he came out and really said that he grew, as he grew up playing basketball in Australia. They had a much more team style of play. Like, the way that you're brought up to play the game is way more pass oriented and way more place, drawing up plays and soccer style of basketball, in a soccer way of scoring the ball. And so, considering that he does have that blueprint and that's what's been impressed upon him, it makes sense that, he's this super pass heavy guy, and, and shooting isn't necessarily the biggest thing for him, because, again, with his athleticism and his ability to get to the rim, he's like, that's gonna be his skill. Like, that's gonna be, who and what he is as a player, and that's how he's gonna impact the game, because there's no need to continue to not say waste time, but because shooting is a weakness, there's no point of spending so much effort trying to get that going when you can just get stronger in your areas of strength. So being okay with being a lesser, fully dynamic player and just being the best player at what you're good at. And so him being impressed upon that style of play, I mean, that makes sense of why he does what he does. And so I give him a little bit more credit for him being what he is out there on the court. But I'm still not gonna fully back off the fact that, like, it's odd watching the dude play and watching him just. It's not that he's just not shooting. It's not just about him not shooting jump shots. It's about the fact that it's been seen time and time again. He simply just passes up regular plays. Like, again, if he's this super athletic, dynamic, he knows he can get to the rim type of guy, why does he pass up so many interesting opportunities to just make that play? And as if anybody has, done a player progression or just watched him over the years, like, they even have it on you. There's plenty of YouTube videos where they break down his game. Well, earlier in the league, he wasn't just getting to the hole more effectively, more oftenly. He was actually shooting shots and shooting them with rhythm and shooting them in what looked like to be in congruence with his style of play and in the flow of the game. And he was making shots. So how do we go from that to this regression that we're into, where especially in playoff moments, we see him shrink? It's totally shrink. And on top of him shrinking, it led to the most epic shrink moment. Again, we'll just segue right into it. The most epic shrink moment where he passed up a simple layup dunk over Trae Young to a non-open, was it Tyrese Thibault? Excuse me for the mispronunciation, the NBA nerds. To where, of course, that culminated into just that was the straw that broke the camel's back with all the NBA fans, Philly fans. It's like, you know what, we are done with this dude and his weirdness and his just, what the heck is he thinking and doing when we need him the most? Style of NBA play that this guy is producing for us. That just broke everybody when he did that. And so, breaking it down, they finally asked him about it. And according to him, he just says that in that play, he really didn't know where he was on the court. Like, he didn't know he was that close to the rim when he just kind of spun around. And when he spun around and he saw Tyrese, he saw Thibault. I'll just say that. He saw Thibault. Based on him knowing that Thibault is a super athlete and he could just dunk the ball on a whim, he saw that spacing and just tossed it to him, thinking that he was just immediately going to go up for a dunk, not realizing that, he done passed up, he passed up just reverse dunking the ball because he was under the rim. He basically just surmised it as something that simple. And so I'm going to give him enough credit to say that, you know what, I can understand that. But here, I'm going to say this on top of that. This plays directly into why it pissed everybody off, because it, to us and to people who've played before, say the coaches, to everybody who's just like, man, what the F? It's like, dude, that proved to us that you aren't that guy and you haven't been improving the way that we think that you have, because how do you not know where you are on the court at this level of play? Like, how do you not know you right there under the rim? Because as it has been seen and been clearly pronounced, that when the moment gets tight, you get lemon booty. When the moment gets tight, you shrink. When the moment gets tight, you show that you don't got what it takes, and you fumble the bag. That's what it really showed. And it showed that in that moment, you can fumble the bag so demonstratively that, okay, as you said, you forget where you are on the court. And yeah, as it's in third person, not only did you forget where you are on the court, you forget where you're on the court on top of the fact that you got somebody that can't defend you whatsoever, to where you could have an extra moment to figure out where you at on the court. Like, bruh. Everybody was tired of it. Like, what? You had yourself a LeBron versus Dallas kind of moment. Everybody piled on LeBron when he did that. Did we not? All of the whole of NBA media, all NBA YouTube, NBA fandom, Cleveland was all like, man, get this clown out of here, man. This dude ain't the quote unquote GOAT. This dude ain't the chosen one, man. This dude, even with the team that he got and wanted, he's still out there just shrinking and fumbling the bag. So if someone like LeBron can get that flack, you, sir, Ben Simmons, can get that flack, because there is that certain level of expectation based on how you show yourself on the court. And then he talked about how he thought it was whack that people would always rag on him, saying he need to practice more, he need to be in practice more. He said he'll post something on the internet and half of the comments will be, man, you need to forget all that, you need to be posting in the gym. Dude, the lack of self-awareness, the reason why people are saying those things. Of course, people don't think you need to live in the gym 24/7. People aren't that ignorant in that much of a mental klutz. What they're saying is, dude, you out here gallivanting in front of us and showing off like you actually are that guy. Like you actually are that superstar. Like you actually can shoot the ball and actually make some dazzling things happen. That you are not the guy who shrinks in the moment, is gonna make buffoon decisions because you really don't got the guts to be just as present in the earlier moments in the game as opposed to the end of the game. And you posting on the internet like you are. You set yourself up for that ridicule, bruh. That's why. So yes, I agree that this stuff can be excessive and it can be somewhat unfair. And I do understand that, yes, even though you are a highly paid athlete, and that plays into it too, they paid you like a guy who is that guy, and you, like I say, are turning out not to be. But because of, like I said, the simple effect that you are a star and you live in a glass house, that people are gonna comment on everything that you do. So your lack of awareness on that is one thing. But like I said, I'll give you credit at the fact that even though you were paid to be in that position, it still doesn't stop the fact that you are human, and it can affect you if it just gets way too thick, way too big. So you actually confessing that the mental illness thing actually wasn't a fake, and that you went and got help and you can talk about it confidently, I'm gonna say hats off to you. Thanks for coming and talking about that part. And like I say, NBA Twitter and social media and stuff, it can be a rough place, but again, like I say, people just people jump on and lap on because, again, you in your singular personhood, when you type that Twitter thing, you don't realize how big that you're adding to the groundswell of what ultimately would be, 40,000 tweets, or something that's, 300,000 likes when you hit the like button. You don't realize, that you're really, really, really being a part of something that's so huge and dynamic. So as being a part of, like, the person who's reading through that and seeing just how much of an onslaught it can be, that could be a freaking lot. So yeah, give it to him for, going through that and doing what he needed to do. But I don't know but yeah, they laid off him on the shooting though, because again, he's still, because it's just the Giannis effect, and that's the last thing, I'm saying. The Giannis effect really is what brings that whole thing upon him, and he really could, be better. So you talked about being happy to be in Brooklyn. there was no chat thing when that had broke out about him leaving the chat. They're asking if he was gonna play, and he bounced the chat as he told the story, and it was actually confirmed, so to speak, the third person to him, that nobody had been in the chat. The group chat had basically been defunct for over a month before that whole thing even happened, and nobody was talking in it, and it was just a wild rumor that that caught fire. And so like I said, those are part of the things that what I'm saying, maybe the social medias could back off of, but it kind of comes with the territory of the wildness. And so yeah, that was Ben Simmons, yo. So I'm a little bit more excited. I'm glad that he opened the door a little bit, showed his personality a little bit. Like I say, I still feel like like I said, he gave himself, like I said, huge cop outs talking about his defensive impact on the game, and that was basically what he is, and a playmaker and stuff like that. It's, again, you could be all of those things, bro, but just don't pass up easy open shots that are gonna like completely throw off the rhythm of your team when everybody around you is thinking you're going to do something that's within your powers, and then you totally Clark Kent in the middle of a Superman moment while you've got your cape on in front of everybody. So shout out to Ben Simmons, man. Hopefully they do some crazy wild stuff in Brooklyn, and I'm excited. Y'all should be too. High Value Basketball. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.